All right. I've been trying to convince people that are interested in law enforcement or other people interested in the Zodiac case, right, that there's a female member of the Zodiac and that she may have been one of the masterminds of the Zodiac based on the coding information that I've been able to decipher, especially in the Z408 and the Z340, which she self identifies as a female photographer's mate or an assistant to a photographer's mate, and as a person called VW Babe with a VW bus. She's referred to quite often as that, making me think that she owns a Volkswagen bus, and that's kind of how they relate to her, or maybe, something like that. And when I discovered who Charlie was, right, by finding his high school yearbook, and then, after we had found that his first name was the answer to the Z13 cipher, and that his last name was in the Z32 cipher, right? Started looking for this guy in San Francisco around the time of the Zodiac murders. And then so we were able to get a archived version of the Polk directory, and there he was. There was a Charles A. Lech in the Polk directory. The thing about it was it said that he was living with somebody. There was another name on there, an Ellen, right? I always called it Elin because it was E is her way she's in the code all the time, like the big E. And our professional investigator who has a license to do background checks does a background check on Charlie and finds out that that's his wife, Ellen Shigmora. So she was now moving towards going to be Ellen Shigmora Lech, his wife, and the mother of his child. And I don't have a picture of her. Like, I don't know what high school she went to. I think she's from Chicago. I thought I might have it, but it just wasn't, it wasn't good enough for me to make the connection. So, and I didn't have enough to make the connection. But one day I was on, I think Zodiac, Reddit, or something. I was online. I was on the computer, or I saw something on TV. It was just weird. I remember where I saw it, but there was this newsreel about when the Zodiac was supposed to turn himself in to Melvin Belli and a TV host at a St. Vincent de Paul thrift store in San Francisco, right? And I believe that was in 1973, right? Like October of 1973. So they had this thing set up where he had called into a TV show and they called the police and they were convinced it was the Zodiac and they were saying they were going to harm him, just come turn himself in. And eventually everybody thought it was a no-show. So while I'm watching the reel in the interview with Melvin Belli, who was a notorious attorney back then, right? And the interview wraps up, there was one lady coming out of the thrift store, right? So everybody knows that the Zodiac's supposed to show up. They're talking about it out loud, right? It's not a normal shopping day. There's people that are there because they want to see the Zodiac. And I guess nobody was afraid that he was going to kill anybody that day. I mean, I was kind of like, well, this is really weird because it's not a secret. It's not like they were hidden. And it's an Asian American woman, which Ellen supposedly is, coming out in a black pantsuit with a mustard leather jacket. And I'm thinking that's gotta be her because everybody is focused on the attorney and the TV guy except her. She's walking out, she's looking straight out at the street. And then once she gets at the street, she does like a 360 and looks back like she's outside of them and she's the only one that knows the truth. And I have been criticized relentlessly for pointing that out, especially by people online who I believe might have been representing her early on in the investigation because they were talking to me like they were defense attorneys. And they were saying, that's not proof, that's not evidence, that's a really blurry picture. How can you make that assertion? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, there's a VW bus at the end of the street and there's an Asian American woman. They're like, well, how can you tell she's Asian American? I'm like, she just fits the part. It's just the way she acts. It's just something about her that she's totally detached from the rest of the group. Like she's the only person that knows the truth, and their MO is to hide in plain sight, right? So I'm thinking all this time, this has got to be the chick. I sent that to Detective Scott Warnicki at SFPD Homicide, who was the Zodiac police officer, right? And I remember he had told me, yeah, we're teeing it up. They were going to try to see if they could get the license plate off the bus and everything. That's when we were actually able to. We were talking. I haven't talked to him in a long time. But I've still never gotten any confirmation that that's who she is because I can't find any pictures of her online. So as I'm going through this Albert Lee stuff, right, especially the Citizen letter, right, the guy is just an amazing graphic artist that he can make letters look like people, right? If you just turn them around. And so I had found one where he's showing a man alive and a man dead as a skeleton. I think that's about him, right? This is 1974, and I'll show it to you in a minute. And you just need the background on this stuff. And I'm still in there, and I see this one area that's underlined, and I'm like, I know that means something, but I just hadn't gotten to it. And I was like, okay, let me get to this and try to see what it means. And generally, you turn these letters around when he's doing the coding upside down, and that's when you can see the images, right? So I saw some images, and I'm staring at them, and I'm thinking, man, something looks familiar here, and I'm pushing it open and close. It's slight, it's kind of blurry, right? But then I finally figured out what it was, right? And it's a pair of legs, right? Like a man. And then there's a smoking tiger, which is the mascot image for RVAH-1, Reconnaissance Squadron, that apparently one of the Zodiacs is attached to, and maybe even her, a guy by the name of H.M. Love. And in this letter, Albert Lee is trying to get her to come back to the base. Apparently, all the boats are in the sea, the Coral Sea, the Enterprise, another boat, and I forget the other one, but there's 4 of them there. I'll show the picture of the 4 of them there. So there's just a whole bunch of men, and apparently, her reputation prior to being with Charlie, or actually how she met Charlie, is that she was a party girl. Okay, she was a party girl before she became a mother and a wife, right? And he's kind of trolling her in this letter, right? And telling her, yeah, you need to come down here, and there's a whole bunch of guys. It's pretty disgusting because at this point she is a mother with like a baby who's like 3 years old. So, but that makes this even more salient. So I'm gonna go in here. I know you're tired of hearing me talking. I'm just looking at my phone, but let's go into the letter. So here's the letter. May 8th, 1974, came from Alameda County, California. It's called the Citizen Letter. If you haven't seen this stuff before, basically there was this letter that came in to the Chronicle. It says the Citizen, and it says, sirs, I would like to express my consternation concerning your poor taste and lack of sympathy for the public as evidenced by your running of the ads for the movie Badlands featuring the blurb. In 1959, most people were killing time. Kit and Holly were killing people. In light of recent events, this kind of glorification can only be deplorable at best. Not that glorification of violence was ever justifiable. Why don't you show some concern for public sensibilities and cut the ad as Citizen? Which is funny because when you turn this thing around, it's all about deplorable stuff and sex. And these were the people who were killing people and glorifying it by sending letters. But do you see where it says ever underlined? Right? So I knew that was important. I just didn't know why it was important. Right? And I hadn't gotten to it. So I'm going to blow it up a little bit more. So this was supposed to be ever. Was ever justifiable? And so most people would even think about it. You would think that he's just emphasizing the word ever as a concerned citizen, right? Let's get into how he codes with pictures. So I need to hit edit, and then I need to flip it over, and then watch what you're going to see. So let's go to that part. ever. Ah, okay. So now, when you look at it, right? And I'll give you even a better picture that I'll give you a still, but I want your eyes to adjust this for a minute. So look at the underline. We'll start there. Do you now realize that that is a shotgun? Now that I mention it to you, your eyes will focus and it'll come to you. That is a long gun, right? Are we all in agreement here? Handle, grip, where you put your fingers. It's got that's a long shotgun, right? And then to the left is, pair of man's legs, right? Next to that is a tiger. I'll tell you what that is, right? So the Smoking Tigers is the name of RVAH-1, which is the reconnaissance group that did intelligence reconnaissance on the USS Enterprise for most of their assignments in Westpac and so on and so forth, and where a Zodiac by the name of H.M. Love was in that group. And I think sometimes they might have been on the Coral Sea also. So I'm not exactly sure where they always were, but they fly a different signal. They don't change the name of the group, but just a different flag signal on the planes that they fly, depending on what boat that they're on, right? So there's the guy's legs, and then there's the tigers, right? And then this thing to the right, I'll explain in a second. But look at this picture right here. The third one from the left. That is a picture of Ellen, right? It's really, he's just amazing graphically, right? So he's given us an outline of her face and her hair. You wouldn't know what she looked like, but this guy is so good that it's a proper rendition of someone, right? And I think in there's like really, really light lines that allows you to see her face. And if you move your head left to right, the image kind of comes up, you could see it. So now this last image is just a knot. Somebody tied a knot, right? So what this part of the message is saying is that the men of RVAH-1, the Smoking Tigers, the group who loves her. This is their girl. She's the Zodiac woman. This is the chick that, the ones that know she's a Zodiac followed, and the other ones just know her because she had to be one of the few girls or ladies involved in what was an all-male situation. Even in their book, The Westpac for the Enterprise, says the men of the Enterprise. It doesn't say the men and women. So she had to be somebody really special. But I want you to just take a look at that image again. And you see that it's a shotgun and the tie bow, right? Okay, so that was that letter. Now here it is in a still image. Now you can really see it. I'm not moving it at all. That is a shotgun. That's Elon. That's the Smoking Tiger. So it's the men of the Smoking Tigers, RVAH-1 of the Enterprise or the Coral Sea. They were all in port at this time in '74, and when this letter was written. And he's asking her to come down and hang out and party, like actually have sex with guys and just, be the old girl. Remember when we used to party? You know how the girl got married or whatever, and you're still trying to drag her out or whatever. And she's like, dude, why are you even going there? I'm married. I'm a mother. Like, leave me alone, right? So that's kind of what this whole letter is about. And I think he just did it on purpose. But check this out. He's asking, because now she, in 74, she's married to Charles, right? The guy, the Zodiac killer from Lake Berryessa, from the descriptions and the witness reports. So they're married and they have a kid, right? That's about to be turning 3 or is 3. He'll be 3 in like June of that year or whatever, right? And this guy who's trolling her, Albert Lee Terry Jr., who faked his death in 1971, in my opinion, and still out there in 1974 writing these codes, says the men of the Smoking Tigers want to know if it was a shotgun wedding. Like, shotgun and tied the knot. So that's her picture, right? I'm going to hold that there. Just kind of just keep that image in your head right there. Just take a look at it. Just absorb it. Your brain it's burning into your brain right now, right? Now, I'm going to show you a video of the newscast that I was talking about. And even though it's not a perfect image of this woman coming out of the St. Vincent de Paul Bach's thrift store, the image you see here is the image you see on that video, because they're just as opaque, but they're just as detailed. Watch this. Almost as if it were magic. All right. So that's Elin D. Shigmura. Then she became Elin D. Shigmura Lech, VW Babe, right? In the code on this last line, so that says her, known as Elin Shigmura, Zodiac female assistant photographer, VW Babe, VW Bus. That's what that last code says down there. So that's one of the areas that she's identified herself. And that also might be Enterprise class ship, as well as Elin Shigmura. So this is what we're talking about here, right? So let's go down here to where this newscast is. So this was October of 1973, the newscast. The letter that we were just looking at is May of 1974. All right, so between 5:19 and 5:33 is when this lady's coming out of this building. That image is probably burned in your mind. Just tell me if when you see her, you just get shocked a little bit when you see it. So I'm moving to that point about five minutes into it. So that's F. Lee Bailey to the right.
I'd rather gotten shot myself first and broken my word on that.
I think we can say honestly that we acted in good faith on this. He requested some assistance, and we tried to give it to him.
You both sound convinced that this is the man.
No, we're not convinced, really. I'm not convinced.
I'm convinced that this is a kook.
Well,
I mean, a sick man.
Yeah,
not a kook in the sense that he's perpetrating a hoax. Don't you feel that this is a sick man, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
And tragically sick man. Gee, I've never had anything in my life as chilling and as dramatic as talking to a sick man at all of San Francisco listening in.
So the interview's ending. Reporter's tired of F. Lee Bailey, that's him. Now watch this. Watch for this woman in the mustard leather coat.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There she is. Bingo. Did you see that? Keep looking up to the left. Look right there. Did that look just like...
I'm convinced, really. I'm not convinced.
Didn't that look just like that image?
Well,
I mean, a sick man.
Yeah, watch it again.
In the sense that he's perpetrating a hoax. Don't you feel that this is a sick man, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
And tragically sick man. Gee, I've never had anything in my life as chilling and as dramatic as talking to a sick man at all of San Francisco listening in.
But watch this.
Blood curdling screams at the end.
I'm going to let it play.
I'll tell you. My car.
All right, here it comes.
Thank you very much.
I zoomed in a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Almost. There she is, look. Right there. And then watch this. There is the VW bus. So that happened on the day that the Zodiac was supposed to turn himself in. Isn't that the woman? Isn't that image right there look exactly like the woman that just came out of that thrift store? And they're asking her if it was a shotgun wedding. Did she tie the knot because there was a shotgun? The men of RVAH1. There is Elin D. Shigmura Lech, VW Babe of the Zodiac Enterprise class ship.